I started playing when I was like 11, so that's a while ago. So I'm about 19 now, so that's a while, you know. Well, I mean, I had one guitar teacher that was really influential to help me to. Well, I had 3 guitar teachers, and my first teacher told me I was never going to learn how to play when I was 11. So, and the second teacher, he was a good player, a very good player. But like a lot of guys who are great players, I don't think he was really into teaching that much. But he was good. He was inspirational just watching him play. That's one of the reasons why I got into jazz, because he was like a good straight-ahead jazz guitar player. Yeah. And then the third teacher's the one that really, I guess he was really influential. I was like about 14 or 15. I started studying with him. And I guess I started listening to Charlie Christian. You know, I listened to all the Ventures, all those people, Dwayne Eddy when I was a kid, Link Ray, all the, you know. So that's where I made the transition into playing jazz with him. You know, I mean, he gave me records to listen to, like, you know, Wes Montgomery records, Barney Kessel, you know. And I started, you know, I just started collecting stuff of my own. You know, I started reading down when I was a little kid, so, you know. So, but he was good because he told me how to play blues changes, and he showed me like the fundamentals of like jazz improvisation. And he used to play with me, you know. You know, lately I've been calling myself, like an Advent traditionalist. You know, I mean, it's like my approach to the guitar is like, I guess by today's standards, it's kind of like traditional mainstream, because all the people I like to listen to when I was a kid, you know, like when I started playing guitar, you know, like the whole thing of like the pedals and the effects, the wah-wah pedal, that came along in the middle 60s, you know. I remember when I was a kid, when I first started gigging, I had a wah-wah pedal, and I used it for a couple of months, but I just haven't, I guess by today's very conventional approach to the guitar, I just like to play the guitar through an amp. I'm not into pedals or effects. Not that I'm against that. It's just for the way I hear and the way I play. And all the people I really admire, they didn't use those. You know? So in a sense, I just feel as though my playing is kind of like, by today, what everyone is doing today is kind of like, people might say, is traditional or old-fashioned. I mean, my approach, you know, just playing a guitar through an amp, you know. But what I play is like even though I have this sort of like, I mean, I kind of sound like a mainstream guitar player, not really a mainstream guitar player. A lot of people who play mainstream guitar tell me that, you know, stuff I play sounds far out, and I'm being diplomatic when I say that, you know, euphemistic. So, and then when I play with avant-garde, people say it sounds very traditional. So I'm just, at this point, I just play what I play, you know what I mean? I mean, because, you know, you go through so much soul-searching. Well, I did. I still do, about where you fit into the tradition of jazz, whether it's valid or whether, you know what I mean? Yeah. Anybody who's like a self-conscious artist thinks about that. But sometimes you can be too self-conscious, all you can do is play. And as we get older, the biggest issue is like, where's the next gig? And how am I going to pay the bills? But this stuff is always in the back of your mind, you know?
And, oh, no, sorry, go on.
No, I mean, even though I'm an avant-gardist, I mean, I just still see, like, I'm coming out of a tradition. And you have to remember that everything now that's in jazz is considered mainstream at one point was avant-garde. I mean, I guess you could make a case that in the 20s, Louis Armstrong could have been considered avant-garde. I mean, Charlie Parker was avant-garde in the 40s, and now bebop is like the mainstream, you know? You know, so even like so-called avant-garde jazz, I mean, that's, what, 50 years ago when I came to New York, so it's like, I guess all you can do is play what you play and hope for the best if you're going to be a musician, you know? I mean, it's just like, I mean, I think the reason anybody comes to be a musician is because they have to. It's an obsessive thing, because that's the only reason why anybody should do it, because you have to do it. Because if you don't have that kind of demand or drive to do it, it's just too difficult. I mean, it's trite to say it, but it's about loving it. You know, it's trite, but it's most artists, irrespective of whatever musical genre they work in, they're doing it because they have to do it. It's like a calling. It's like a very obsessive, crazy kind of thing. Well, today, to me, it seems I get the impression with a lot of people, especially people my age, came up with like the 60s boomers. I think for most people, I get the impression for people my age, came into the 60s, the music for them is like rock. For middle-aged people, it's rock, you know, because rock started in our lifetime. And like the early rock, this is like a lot of early rock and roll, like Little Richard, Chuck Berry. It's got that swing thing, the jazz thing happening. But now it's like, it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that jazz is becoming more like a historic kind of music. I mean, and it's not the way it was in the 20s or the 30s or the 40s as part of the popular music culture. It's become it's like something everyone's vaguely aware of. But when they think about jazz, they probably think about the guys in suits playing the kind of tunes that mom and dad used to listen to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like in the hip hop people, it just becomes so weird now because there's so many different styles now. Like world music, the world's gotten smaller. Like I heard this interview on the radio with Sonny Rollins and stuff. When he was a young man, there weren't that many styles for a musician to cover. Like if you want to be working, But he's saying now there's so many styles. That's the thing. It's like there's so much going on now. So much cross-pollination and stuff. But I think jazz has become like a classic form. It's become like a classic form. I mean, it's tried, but it's like this 20th century art music.
Yeah.
And it's still based on improvisation. Like European classical music at one point, people forget about all these guys like Bach and Beethoven. They were all improvisers. I heard somebody say on the radio that like Chopin, when he came up with the ideas for a lot of his tunes, they start out as improvisation. But I mean, classical music become more formalized. And I think, and I like to listen to it, but I think the same as jazz is running the same danger of becoming as formalized. Because once you do something long enough, you have to deal with the burden of a tradition. It's always like wrestling and grappling with that tradition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the thing. Like, if you're a jazz player, you got all these like people that came before you, and there's so many different styles. I mean, Well, the whole thing is eventually, it's like dealing with your parents. Eventually, you break with them. Yeah. You break with them. You have to select from them what is valid for you. You break with them. You take what is useful, and in other words, you develop your own facility for critical thinking. Yeah, I mean that's inevitable. Like you read it well. I don't want to sound pedantic, but I mean it's like. I was going to say that it sounds pedantic, but you read about any artist, any major artist who had like somebody who was working as a mentor, who served as a role model for them. There came that inevitable break, is that inevitable break, at one point or another. James Baldwin, Richard Wright. I've read about that. Emerson and Thoreau. You know what I mean? The last 5 years, I don't want to be melodramatic, but they're keeping me alive because I've gone through so many changes with my health and everything else. And if it weren't for them, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's because the thing is, people don't realize that everyone has this idea that music is this glamorous, easy profession. All the arts. Nobody thinks of artists as being workers. They don't realize to be an artist you have to work so hard. And a lot of times long hours of developing what you do and you don't get paid. And if you're lucky you might make it in this lifetime. But for most artists it's like a struggle. And when you're young, like most people when I came to New York back in '75, I thought by this time I would have made it. I would have been established in the business, but it's like your whole career is about being established or getting established. And a lot of times when I meet musicians who have gotten to where I think they're at, and I hear them talk. They're talking about the same thing I'm talking about, but it's for a larger sum of money with the lifestyle they live on. You know what I mean? So it's like you're always trying to make it. It's almost like you never stop paying dues and you work for organizations like this. Especially for jazz, because nobody in America, like I said, especially the kind of jazz I play. I mean, like in America, it's the cliche. You go anywhere else in the world, and people want to know about this music. I mean, I know people in Europe and know more about what I've done in my career, what it's about, than people in my own family. I can talk to somebody from like Japan or France, and they know more about it and understand it more than my relatives. I mean, I love them. They've been supportive of me. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess for Americans, it's too much part of the culture, so they just take it for granted. But you got people from all over the world. They want to study with you and find out. I mean, they want to pick your brain and know all about it. But at the same time, you're trying to figure out how do I get a paying gig and how do I pay the fellowship, you know?
Yeah.
But you have all these people, you know. But it's, I mean, jazz doesn't have the currency of pop music.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to believe at one point people like Benny Goodman and Count Basie, they were like rock stars are now.
Yeah.
Guys, you know what I mean? They have that kind of, but it's not that, you know. So I don't know, you can go into why, but I don't know, you know. Well, I think the problem with jazz is like there's no one set definition. I mean, the minute you have a set definition, it means the thing's become like a museum thing. So I have my definition. Everyone has. That's what keeps an art form alive. All this sort of like creative contention about what it is and what it isn't. You know, what's jazz, what's painting, or you know. I mean, you have to have all these different approaches. Just, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but the minute it's become like codified and stylized, and this is the way it's done.
Yeah.
And this is the right way, and this is the wrong. But the minute, well, it's that way with rock and roll now. Rock and roll has been around long enough for all these different styles of rock and roll. When they were doing it, let's do something different. When you look back, this is the style. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for the upcoming musician, the apprentice who wants to learn his craft, he gets caught up in learning how to deal. So the hard part is to subsume all the stuff that's come before you and take that and make something new. That's the hardest part for any artist in any field. To absorb what's come before and not to be trapped by it. And I guess the truly great artists are the ones who can absorb all this influence. I mean, like Charlie Parker, he's Lester Young, you know. It's like this carry around a suitcase full of Lester Young recordings. And, Lauren, you know what I mean? Ornette said he used to copy Charlie Parker's licks. But the hard part is to learn something new. That's the thing that separates the artist from the great craftsman.
Yeah.
You know.